This week in news surrounding Israel, JD Vance tells Israel to wake up and smell the reality. Stay tuned, friends, for all the details. Well, shalom, everyone. Welcome once again to this week's newscast. I'm Robert Gottselig, your host. And while much attention is being focused on the deal with Iran, or more accurately, the MOU, a memorandum of understanding that's intended to lead to a formal agreement over the next 60 days, Israel, well, it's voicing its concerns over the so-called deal, to which Vice President JD Vance told Israel to wake up and smell the reality of the situation. Have a look.
I saw the Axios report, that Netanyahu is fuming. That's not reflective of the conversations that I've had with him, but maybe he's saying something to somebody else that he's not saying to me. What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you've seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the President of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Thank you all.
Well, there you have it. Wake up, Israel, and smell the reality on the ground. That the U.S. is the only powerful ally that Israel has left in the entire world, and really basically do as we say, period. Well, that may be the case, what we see today, that Israel doesn't have many friends, but that sure doesn't make it right what JD Vance said. I mean, shame on the West and shame on the world for not standing with Israel, especially the Western countries who have taken sides against Israel. I think of Canada, the UK, I think of France, and there's others, Australia. Shame on the West for doing that. Shame on the world for not standing with Israel. Israel has been dealing with Iran's death cult proxies now for a very, very long time. And when it comes to Hezbollah, Israel has every right to do what they have to do to protect itself from this demonic terrorist group whose, by the way, sole purpose is to wipe Israel off the map. And part of the MOU is that Israel must withdraw from Lebanon, including southern Lebanon, and quit attacking Hezbollah. And of course, Hezbollah needs to quit attacking Israel, in which, by the way, they refuse to do so. All of no doubt probably are from the orders of the Iranian regime. That's right, because Iran has pressured the United States that in this memorandum of understanding, Israel must withdraw its forces from Lebanon. Of course, Iran would want that, wouldn't they? As they want to protect its main proxy and give it another opportunity to regroup and rearm all over again. And the U.S., in what many are saying, has capitulated or given in to Iranian demands. I covered that last week. If you haven't seen last week's episode, I'd encourage you to go back and watch that. But now now the U.S. is scolding Israel for speaking out against the deal. I mean, does anyone actually think that Iran is going to negotiate and behave fairly over the next 60 days? I mean, really, does anybody believe that? That's highly unlikely. I mean, they've already canceled talks last Friday. Look, they don't have a great track record, do they? No, they aren't. But they have a good track record in this, that they are expert manipulators, liars, and deceivers. Period. Wake up, JD, for you need to smell the reality on the ground. Well, what does the God of Israel have to say about all of this? Well, a lot, actually, if you read the Bible. But here's just a few things to consider. First off, one of Balaam's prophecies that God, by the way, put in his mouth, he was hired by Balak to curse Israel, but God would not let Balaam do that. Instead, he put his words in Balaam's mouth. And so one of Balaam's prophecies was that Israel would not be reckoned among the nations. I'm reading from Numbers chapter 23, verses 8 and 9. This is what we read. How shall I curse whom God has not cursed? God has not cursed Israel. And how shall I denounce whom the Lord has not denounced? From the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. There a people dwelling alone, not reckoning itself among the nations. That's what we read there. And that's really exactly what we see in our world, friends, is that Israel is not reckoned amongst the nations. It's like Israel's excluded from the nations. It's like there's a whole nother laws concerning how nations should enter into war and the rules around it. But when it comes to Israel, it seems like there's a different set of rules. It seems like Israel can only defend itself for a short period of time until the world is saying, no, you can't do that anymore, even though Israel's enemies have vowed to continue to destroy them. And so we see that in our world today, that Israel is not reckoned amongst the nations. And we also know that God's word says that in the future, there's going to be not one single nation that will stand with Israel. Never mind the United States. And maybe there's some wavering there within the Republican Party. For sure, there's some wavering there. But they won't even have that, Israel. No, there's going to be a time where all the nations are going to be gathered against Israel. Just simply read Zechariah chapter 14, and in particular verses 1 through 5. Secondly, God's promise of blessing and cursing in regards to how Israel and his chosen people are treated still stands today. And God, once again, putting his words in Balaam's mouth, reaffirmed what God had swore to in Genesis 12:3. And I'm reading from, this time, Numbers chapter 24, the latter part there of verse 9. Balaam said, "Blessed is he who blesses you, and cursed is he who curses you." Again, right out of Genesis 12:3, a promise that is still in effect to this day. And lastly, friends, this world is in for a wake-up call, as this Israel hatred, especially today in the days in which we live, friends, is just ramped up all around the world, but it will forcibly come to an end one day. Yes, the world is in for a wake-up call, as God himself has decreed that. This time I'm reading here from Isaiah chapter 60. And let's just read verses 12 to 14. For the nation and kingdom, now listen to this, for the nation and kingdom which will not serve you shall perish, and those nations shall be utterly ruined. And listen to this, the glory of Lebanon shall come to you, the cypress, the pine, the box tree together to beautify the place of my sanctuary. There's going to be a temple built in the millennial kingdom when Israel's Messiah returns. This is a fourth temple. And the nations are going to build it. The Messiah is going to see to it. And that's what it's referring to here in this period of time. And I will make the place of my feet glorious. That is when the Messiah returns. Look at verse 14. Also the sons of those who afflicted you, Israel, shall come bowing to you, and all those who despised you shall fall prostrate at the soles of your feet, and they shall call you the city of the Lord, Zion of the Holy One of Israel. Get that? The nation and kingdom which will not serve Israel will perish, and those nations will be utterly ruined. Wow. And the glory of Lebanon shall come to Israel, and those who afflict Israel shall come one day bowing down to them. Whoa. Friends, this will be part of Israel's future glory. When again, as I mentioned, Israel's Messiah returns, when Yeshua returns, and he rules and reigns on the throne of his father David from Jerusalem in the rebuilt temple for 1,000 years. Yes, there's coming a preeminent shift from the Gentiles to the Jewish people, period. I don't know about you, but I certainly am looking forward to that time indeed. For in that day, there's going to be no more Iranian regime to come against the Jewish people. There's going to be no backdoor deals concerning Israel. There's going to be no more Hezbollah, no more Hamas, no more Houthis, no more Israel or Jew hatred. No, there will be none of that. And so rather than scolding Israel for its concerns and legitimate concerns over what many view as a questionable agreement with Iran, Vice President Vance and President Trump should have recognized the legitimate security concerns that many Israelis have regarding this agreement, and rightfully so. But the bottom line is this: that God has sealed Israel's future and security. That's guaranteed. Israel has a bright future when Israel's Messiah returns. I just read that. But as for the United States and the world, friends, the course that they choose will ultimately be judged not only by history, but by God himself. And with that, friends, and until next time, thanks for joining us on another episode of In News Surrounding Israel.